Hello everyone. Today I'd like to speak about branding, and I'm going to give you the top 5 don'ts and the top 5 do's. And I'm starting with the don'ts because I want to make sure you know what to avoid when you're branding. And I'm going to end off with the 5 do's because I want to end up with a positive message and something for you to remember what you should be doing, right? So first of all, what is branding? Branding is basically creating a recognition for you, yourself, or your business. So whether you're selling a product or a service, or you just want to have recognition for what you do yourself, then you need to brand yourself. You need to brand your product, you need to brand your service, and you need to brand your business and your name, right? So basically, when you're branding, you're creating an awareness of what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're selling or providing, and then you're having that association made with the need of the customer, right? The need of the client. So when someone is looking to purchase something or to use a service, when they're looking at that specific industry that you're in, you want them to associate your name or your product or your brand with that. So you want to be the go-to person or the go-to business when they're making that purchasing decision. So that's the purpose of branding, is to make yourself known as the authority or the expert in that particular field. So having said that, let's start with the don'ts. When you're branding, what you want to stay away from, a top don't, number 1, is don't do cookie cutter branding. So what I mean by that is don't go to the branding 101 and start looking at all the things other people are doing and copy that model, because not all branding is equal and not all branding is the same depending on what you're going to be doing. So you need to really refine what your brand is going to be and how you want to market it in order to be different, in order to be unique, in order to be recognizable and set apart from everyone else. You want to be able to differentiate yourself and to basically remove yourself from the competition and rise above. And so when you do that, the first thing you have to do is to do something original, to do something different. I'm not saying outlandish or spending a ton of money, but what I am saying is stay away from the generic kind of branding. We'll get a little bit into that after. Number 2 don't is don't rely solely on social media. Yes, social media is important and it is part of your strategic marketing, but it's not going to be the ending point of your branding. It's going to be a tool that you're going to be using in your branding process, but don't rely solely on that. When you're branding, you have to find other ways to have a holistic branding campaign, right? So you need to use social media, you need to use word of mouth, you need to use other types of ads, and you need to have a presence online, and you need to also have your own content and have your own way of building credibility for your brand. So that's number 2. Number 3 don't is don't have generic messaging. So don't have the same messaging for everybody across the board and for every single social media. So you need to see who your market is, you need to see who your target audience is, and you also need to see what you can offer to those individuals and the different companies. So you have to create different types of branding, different types of marketing in order to really fully bring your branding together. Because when you're going to be branding, you're also going to be providing information, you're going to be providing value to your customer or to your potential customer. And you're going to need to bring that all in, but not in a generic way. You're going to have to find different creative ways of doing that. So we'll get a little bit into that after. Number 4 don't is don't be overly critical. Don't be critical of yourself. Don't be critical of your results, and don't be critical of others. Nobody ever wants to see someone else try to get ahead by stepping on other people or by putting down another brand. You don't have to do that. In order to rise above, in order to really get to the top, you can do that all by yourself. You don't need to rely on bashing another brand or by name calling or by putting down other people's efforts. You need to really rely on yourself and focus on your own brand brand and give people a reason to understand why they should be choosing you rather than the other one. So that's number 4. And the last one is the last number 5 don't be rigid. Always be flexible, always be fluid, always be open to change and to adapt to certain situations. So you never want to have that brand that doesn't keep up with current times, that doesn't look at what's working and what's not, and just remains branding what they're already branding. And that can be detrimental to you, because if it's not working and if it's already passed its course and done what it's supposed to do, and you're not looking at, reviving it in a certain way, then you're going to kill your brand. So don't be too rigid, always be flexible. So those are the top 5. I'll just quickly recap. Don't do cookie cutter branding. Don't rely solely on social media. Don't have generic messaging. Don't be overly critical, and don't be too rigid. Okay, those are the top 5 don'ts. Now we're going to focus a little bit on the do's. Now, when we talk about branding, it's really important to be aware of why it is that you're branding and what it is that you're branding. And don't get too focused on the nitty-gritty, on the details. That will come with time, and it will also come with experience, because if you're going to try something initially and it doesn't work, then of course you need to try something else. But don't give up. Don't give up too easily. And that's that's not really a do, that's a general piece of advice for anything that you're going to be doing, is if you're going to fail forward and just use that as momentum to try again. So the top 1 do is do research of the market. So whatever industry you're in, look at what's already out there, look at what's being received, look at what's being rejected, look at what's performing really well, and use that as an example of what you want to do. Don't replicate it because it's already being done. It's not that you want to reinvent the wheel, but you want to do it in your own way, because that's the only way that you're really going to stand out from the others, is to just bring a fresher approach. So do your market research and see what's already out there and what you can do to improve on what's already out there. That's number 1. Number 2 do is do identify your target audience. So you want to look at who's going to be using your products, who's going to be using your services, who you want to attract as a client, who you want to appeal to, who you want to speak to, and then look at that particular dynamic and see how you can engage with that audience. So you're going to look at their location, you're going to look at the demographics, their age group, what they like, what they don't like, what they, how they even interact on social media, or what type of platforms that they frequent. So those are the different things that you need to do when you're identifying your target audience. It's not just saying, okay, I want to reach, 20 to 30-year-olds who make this kind of money and live in this particular area. No, you want to do a little bit more detailed research as to how you can actually reach that target audience. That's number 2. Number 3 is do invest in your image. So whether it's your color scheme or your logo, the way that you want to appear, and it's very important to strategize about how you're going to do that before you actually launch. Or if you're already in existing business or service, then you can always revamp, but don't do it too often. So don't make changes all the time, because that's not branding. When people get to know you, they get to know you. They don't want to see that you're ever changing, right? So you can make a few changes here and there, minor things, but if you're going to rebrand, make sure you're rebranding at the right time for the right reason and in the right way. So when you're originally branding, think about the look that you want to have. Does your logo speak to your product or service? Does it speak to your target audience? Is it going to be effective for marketing? Is it going to be easy to print? Is it going to be easy to work with in terms of color scheme? Is it going to be easy for your designers and your marketing people to be able to use? So all these different things you have to really look into before you create your brand look. And then also with that, you're also branding your image in terms of what you say, so your voice, maybe the person who's going to be representing you, So the image of first impressions. So if you're going to be doing a lot of public speaking, always make sure that you are presenting yourself in the way that you want to be perceived, right? You always want to be professional. You always want to speak to your target audience. You always want to be current with the times. And that brings me to number 4, do. Number 4 is do remain current all the time. You have to provide value, and value changes based on what's going on in the world, what's going on in the industry, and really what's going on with you. So when you're providing the value, you need to look at what people are looking for, right? What companies are looking for, what your customer is looking for. If it's fashion, then obviously fashion sense changes. And if it's food, then, you know, food trends change. If it's business, there are always different programs and different things that are going on. Business lingo is forever changing. So you always need to be current. So when you're branding yourself, make sure you're branding yourself in a way that you're going to be able to incorporate that type of change in your branding. And then number 5, I'm not saying it's the most important, but it is very important. The number 5 do is do maintain consistency. And when I say that, I also want to remind you that it needs to be flexible. So you need to be consistent with your messaging. You need to always remember who you're speaking to, what you're speaking about, and how you're saying it. So be consistent with the type of value that you're providing. Be consistent with your timing. So if you're putting out content, make sure that people are aware of what you're putting out there, that if you do it at a certain time every week or every month, or if you're doing newsletters, that it's in a timely fashion and on the same platforms that you always use. And be consistent with your messaging, be consistent with your information, be consistent with the amount of value that you give to your audience. And then that way it's always going to keep them coming back for more or wanting to hear more about what you do. So those are the top 5 do's, and I'll just quickly recap. So do research the market, do identify your target audience, do invest in your image, do maintain current trends and provide current value, and do maintain consistency, but with flexibility. So those are the top 5 don'ts and do's. And then I just want to touch on a couple of other things. So when we're talking about social media marketing, a lot of people, they really focus on the numbers, right? So you have followers, you have likes and engagements, and you have people who comment, and you have to take that into account, but don't get stuck on numbers. So when you have followers, when you have people who are engaging with you, not everyone that's engaging with you or that likes what you have, or that comments or even views what you're putting out there is going to be a client. However, those people have their own people they can share. You can ask them to include it in their own business or within their own networks. And when you focus on numbers, you're really looking for quality, not quantity. So the type of people that you want to be speaking to, the type of people that you want to be reaching, are those that will ultimately give you the business that you need, are the ones that will ultimately give you the results that you're looking for. So it doesn't matter if you have 100,000 followers, if you have 10,000 or even 1,000. If you have 1,000 people following you and engaging with you and actually paying you for what you do and your service or product, then those 1,000 people are worth more to you than 100,000 followers who do nothing, or 100,000 people in your network who don't watch what you put out there and don't comment and don't like and don't engage. So really don't look at the numbers. It's not quality, it's not quantity, it's more quality. And when you have companies out there that are using other companies to promote their things, and when you have other companies that are buying followers and people that are going to just appear as numbers, it's sort of misleading. It might look good to the outside world, but you know what you're gaining from it. So don't focus on numbers. And also, never stop marketing, never stop strategizing, and never stop inventing. You're always going to want to come up with new content. You're always going to want to come up with innovative ways to give out your content, and never be discouraged. If you try something and it doesn't work, okay, so you try something else. And that's part of branding and the ongoing process of branding yourself. The things I want to point out that you should not be doing is when you're adding new products or services, it's important that you don't tag them along to your brand just because you already have a brand. So if you have something that's working for you and you want to, say, branch off into something else, don't tie it to your current brand. Brand it as something else. It can fall under the main umbrella, but don't make it that brand's secondary brand, because then you're diminishing from the original brand, and if it doesn't work, then you're actually harming what you've already done. So until you know it's going to work, it's best to keep them separate. So if you have, for instance, one type of company and you want to add a second one, or if you have one product line and you want to add a second one, then try doing them under different names and brand each one separately. Number one, you're gonna have two different brands, which is awesome. People are gonna like that. And number two, you're not gonna harm one or the other if one of them doesn't do as well as the other, or one of them fails. So that's important to know. And always, always remain true to your followers. Always remain true to your customers and the ones who are supporting you all the time. Listen to their feedback. Take their comments into consideration, and if you have any people that are giving you suggestions, find out, you know, what they're basing it on. And you can always do market research by way of surveys, and always engage with your clients, always engage with your customers, always engage with your target audience, because the more you learn about them, the more you're going to be able to offer them. And last but not least is enjoy the success, enjoy your ride. When you have a brand that's being recognized, when you have a brand that's being embraced, then you can reap the rewards and the benefits of all of that. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I know that it was a little bit longer than the other ones, but really when it comes to branding, you need all this information. I do offer seminars, and I do have coaching available on this with detailed information on how to brand. I work with people one-on-one. So if you're interested in more information, please reach out to me. I'm always available. If you like this video, you found it valuable, and you think other people will too, please like it and then share it, because sharing is caring. And if you want more valuable content, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I wish you all a beautiful, beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.